Good morning, this is Shindo. This morning I'd like to point out an article in which the Pope is calling upon religious unity between all the prospective religions of the world. Unless, of course, you're a Gnostic Luciferian, or just a Gnostic for that matter. But this is what the Pope said. This is from Catholic News Agency, Vatican City, January 7th, 2016. The Pope's first ever video message on his monthly prayer intentions was released Tuesday, highlighting the importance of interreligious dialogue and of the beliefs different faith traditions hold in common, such as the figure of God and love. Many think differently, quote, many think differently, feel differently, seeking God or meeting God in different ways. In this crowd, in this range of religions, there is only one certainty that we have for all. We are all children of God, unquote. Pope Francis said in his message, released January 6, the Feast of Epiphany. At the beginning of the video, a minute and a half long, the Pope cites the fact that the majority of the Earth's inhabitants profess some sort of religious belief. This, he said, quote, should lead to a dialogue among religions. We should not stop praying for it and collaborating with those who think differently, unquote. The video goes on to feature representatives of Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism who proclaim their respective beliefs in God, Jesus Christ, Allah, and Buddha. What I find very interesting about this is just back in early November, the Pope spoke up against Gnosticism. I did a quick video about this from an article from the Gnostic Warrior. Pope Francis warns Catholics about the dangers of Gnosticism. This article is dated November 17th, 2015. This past week, Pope Francis had warned the Italian Church and Roman Cura about, quote, two temptations. Then looking up from his script, he drew much laughter when he said, quote, I say 2, not 15, as I told the Roman Cura. Must be an inside joke. These two temptations were not in relation to resisting sin or the devil, but he instead focused upon the teaching of Pelagianism and Gnosticism. Pelagianism was founded upon the teachings of the Scottish-Irish monk Pelagius, 354 to 420 or 440. Pelagius taught that moral perfection and salvation was attainable in this life without the assistance of divine grace through human free will. In simple terms, we humans are good or bad based on our own free will-based actions. Gnosticism in its purest form is the intuitive spiritual knowledge that comes with knowing thyself and thy spirit. The word gnosis is a Greek word for knowledge, which usually refers to any type of direct communion with the divine. Pope Francis said this about Pelagianism, quote, leads us even to assuming a style of control of hardness, unquote, stressing that, quote, Christian doctrine is not a closed system, unquote. He explained, quote, before the problems of the church, it is not useful to search for such solutions in conservation or fundamentalism, in the restoration of obsolete conduct and forms that no longer have the capacity of being significant culturally, unquote. The Pope then identified the second temptation was, quote, Gnosticism. Francis said this leads to, quote, trusting in clear logical reasoning, unquote. That's horrible. Which, quote, loses the tenderness of the flesh of the brother, unquote. The fascination of Gnosticism, he said, is that of a, quote, a purely subjective faith whose only interest is a certain experience or a set of ideas and bits of information which are meant to console and enlighten, which ultimately keep one imprisoned in his or her own thoughts and feelings, unquote. The joy of the Quote, The Joy of the Gospel, unquote, number 94. Pope Francis said the difference between every form of Gnosticism and Christianity is to be found in the mystery of the incarnation of God who becomes man. Quote, not to put the word of God into practice, not to bring it into reality, means to build on sand, to remain in pure ideas, and to degenerate into intimacies that bear no fruit because they make its dynamism, unquote, he said. What the Pope is basically saying here is that regardless of your religious belief, you have found a direction towards God. Unless, of course, you recognize that God is within you and that you're a Gnostic Luciferian, or just a Gnostic in general. You could be a Gnostic Christian. The Church's problem with Gnosticism, which goes back, way back, because Gnosticism was one of the original Christian faiths, is that Gnostics don't look to the Church for their guidance. And it's quite that simple. The Pope is really talking about a one-world religion, as long as he's the head of it. These are dangerous, scary times in which we live, times in which people who disagree with this idea, not the idea of one-world religion necessarily, but the idea of a one-world religion led by one man, anyone who disagrees with that idea, such as Gnostics like me, like Lucy, anyone who disagrees with this plan and this idea is going to be finding themselves in a very difficult situation. And what a wonderful thing it would be to have a dictator like, Donald Trump, who just today, by the way, I saw a video just this morning on the fact that he thinks that the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, is a great guy that knows how to be the boss of things. Things are being set up here, folks. And if you can't see what's going on, then I sure as hell can't pull down the blinders around your eyes to see it for yourself. One state, one religion, and I assure you, Gnostics like myself and Lucy, and those of you out there, will not be part of it. As I just talked about yesterday, events that are occurring in this world today lead one to see that these events are leading to the end of this age. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to the Bible and the book of Revelation. This is Shindo. Have a good day.